when I call your name. Every fear is banished from here. When you call my name, I'll come running, running to you. And you say, come to me. Spread your wings. Catch the wind, catch the wind. He's carrying you.
Shalom and welcome to Jerusalem Dispatch ICEJ UK, the monthly programme that brings you a closer connection to Israel and the Jewish people through the pro-Israel Christian ministry that is the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem UK. And in this month's programme we shall be discussing Israel and America's war against the Iranian regime and how the regime is actually targeting Israel's population centres, but we're also marking the Jewish festival of Passover, also known in Hebrew as Pesach. And this month's special guests are Joanne Lakuta, who's the UK administrator, together with Tim Collis, who is the regional leader in the Lincoln area. So warm welcome to the programme, both of you. And Joanne, I'll start off with you. So it's always good to have you on the programme. And for our viewers who have interacted with this wonderful ministry that is ICEJ UK, you are the first point of reference for them. So you do an amazing job in organising the conferences and the events and everything else in the administration of this wonderful organisation. So give us an update, would you, on particularly this critical time facing Israel at war against the Iranian regime, and we've seen the rockets and missiles and we've seen what's happening to the Middle East. Give us an update, particularly on what's happening regarding the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem UK.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you, Simon. It's good to be here. Do you know what? In our team in Jerusalem, they're on the ground, literally, virtually every day. They're still carrying on with the work that we're doing all the time anyway. We have a wonderful team, and they visited some of the sites where these rockets have landed, producing reports, getting the word out there, continuing to raise awareness around the world, delivering food parcels still, carrying on with the home care programme, looking after Holocaust survivors. We're just continuing to do what we've always done, even in the shadow of war, to the best of our ability. And I think that, yeah, as we go through the programme today, hopefully we'll be able to talk about some of those.
And of course they're doing that despite the fact that most Israelis are actually in bunkers because they don't know where these rockets and missiles are going to fall. So again, putting themselves at risk to help those that are vulnerable and needy in Israel. Tim, it's great that you can join Joanne on the programme, and it's always a pleasure to have you on the programme. Share with us what's happening up in the kind of Lincoln area and what you are doing, because you have a very important conference coming up soon as well.
Thank you, Simon. It's good to be back here on Jerusalem Dispatch. Yeah, like many regions in the UK, we're busy supporting our Jewish communities, standing with them in solidarity, because it's so important, because it seems like the war has come home to the UK as well. We see the attacks on rising anti-Semitism, we see the attacks on the ambulances of Hatzola in Manchester, terrible scenes that, on our streets. So we're busy engaging with our local Jewish communities, showing them our support and standing with them, because that's so important to actually have a visible presence, standing with our Jewish friends that live in our communities. And early this year, for the first time, in 2025 and 2026, we had the Holocaust Memorial Day celebration memorial actually in Lincoln Cathedral, which was actually a beautiful ceremony to stand with our Jewish communities in Lincoln, knowing of its past anti-Semitic history. And it was beautiful to hear the choir singing in Hebrew from the Psalms, hearing the Aaronic blessing in Hebrew, and then culminating with the Dean giving the Aaronic blessing in English as well. It was just beautiful in that cathedral, in that centre of anti-Semitism, hearing a great love for the Jewish people.
That's incredible, especially the journey that you've been on personally, Tim, to set up the Lincoln Memorial Stone just adjacent to the Lincoln Cathedral Bomber Command. So it's wonderful to know that the prayers are having a big impact on Lincoln as well. Joanne, you finally put together, I think, it's been a difficult year, hasn't it, in terms of everything going on, but a schedule of summer conferences coming up across the region. So for our viewers watching throughout the UK, where can they attend some of the conferences organised, plus another special conference up in Edinburgh and Glasgow this year?
Yeah, it's challenging because we normally like to bring people over from headquarters to our conferences. That's proving challenging at the moment. But we've got our first event on the 18th of April, and that's going to be in Sedgley in the West Midlands. And then we're going to be in Swindon, we're going to be in Lincoln, we're going to be in London, Southampton, we're going to be in Billinge in my church, we're going to be in Belfast, and then, like you say, we're heading up into Edinburgh again in the summer, and we're planning another special event with the Jewish community there. So there's a lot happening, and I would just say on conferences actually, that if our viewers are feeling maybe isolated in their support for Israel, then come to our conferences, because it's a great way to meet new people, fellowship with like-minded believers, and just make new connections and start and feel refreshed and uplifted by being together.
Absolutely, and share with us how our viewers watching this programme today, who one of the conferences is in the vicinity of the area in which they live in, what's the best way to find out what's happening? Is it to sign up to the website to get all the information so they're fully aware of what's happening? So
we'll be putting stuff on social media as well, but I would say get on our mailing list, get on our email mailing list, and look on the website. All the dates are on there now. The speakers are not listed yet because we're still finalising that, but all the dates are on there, and we will have worship with our ICEJ UK band, Sisu. Great speakers, obviously, and worship, times of prayer together as well. It's really important. They're really, really great days together. Amazing.
I mean, you mentioned earlier, Tim, about the tragic news that occurred this week as we're recording this programme, that up in Golders Green in North London, terrorist agents belonging to the Iranian regime actually carried out a horrific firebomb attack on 4 Jewish ambulances that are there to serve not only the Jewish community, but the entire communities up there in North London. And it's brought shock and complete devastation and fear to the Jewish community. Share with us your response to what is another anti-Semitic-led attack on our Jewish community. It feels like the war that Israel's waging against the Iranian regime, as you said, has come here to our shores.
I think, like many people, it was just shock that this could happen to not just the Jewish community, but to the ambulance service. That were actually this service is given over to blessing the community as well. It wasn't just polarised to one community. It's actually for the whole community, whether they're Jews or not. And I think it brought great shock to our nation. And it's a wake-up call to see what's going on, to say, look, we need to wake up and we need to find out what's going on and actually support our Jewish community. And I see it almost, in almost way, it's like an own goal really for the, this Iranian regime has, they've now exposed themselves to what they are, to actually hit, some of the most vulnerable and most precious aspects of our society.
And Joanne, share with us how it's important that there are constant prayers prayed for our Jewish community, and what is the response from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem UK, to the attack on these ambulances?
Well, we know that prayer works for a start, and we know that we're called to pray, and we're called to bless one another and bless those that are persecuted and pray. And so ICEJ, we pray daily, globally from Jerusalem, and specifically in the UK, we're praying on Zoom together. We've got Monday night, we've got Monday morning, Friday morning, and Wednesday morning, and there's a lot. I need to kind of remember when they all are, but if people want to join us in prayer, then there are lots of opportunities to do so. It's really important that
Absolutely.
We stick together with it.
Wonderful. And Tim, as someone who's been very involved in ICEJ UK for a number of years now, share with us the importance of being that blessing to Israel and the Jewish people, and showing love to Israel and the Jewish people in such a practical and loving way.
Yeah, nothing can replace actually just showing our support practically for the Jewish people. And through the ICEJ, viewers can actually connect with actually that driving force behind ICEJ to comfort my people, because the Jewish community, they do need that great comfort now. And it's we're providing bomb shelters in Israel, and even the bomb shelters that are there, we're renovating, providing lighting. Many of the bomb shelters in Israel are for short term, in there for a few minutes and then out again. But now people are staying in the bomb shelters for sometimes hours and hours and days and even weeks. So we're preparing bomb shelters with air conditioning, good mattresses and games for children to play with, and different facilities within those bomb shelters for long-term stays.
Absolutely, and I've seen one of those bomb shelters being renovated myself. When you guys sponsored me to go to Israel back in January of 24, we visited one of those towns very close to the border with Lebanon that is out of range of Hezbollah rockets and missiles, but even so, that bomb shelter there, which is deep underground, had been neglected, needed repainting, needed proper electricity going. That was all paid for by the ministry, so that community can know they have that peace and reassurance to know that they can use one of those bomb shelters, which is so vital. And Joanne, give us your thoughts on how back on February the 28th, the Israeli Defence Force decided to carry out Operation Roaring Lion, in which they targeted the leadership of the Iranian regime, including killing the supreme leader Khamenei. And of course, now that Israel's carried out some over 200 aircraft struck Iran on that opening day. And of course, as of this recording today, that war is relentless. So share with us your thoughts of Israel being at war again, but this time with the head of the snake.
Yeah, well, it's a big question, and of course war is horrible, and war can be polarizing even amongst Christians. And we were saying this earlier, that sometimes you feel like you're not really qualified to talk about these things, living here in our relative peace and calm, but war sometimes is inevitable, and our Feast of Tabernacles theme this year is "The Lord Roars from Zion," and it's taken from Joel 3, and we heard that this operation, this latest military campaign, was going to be called the Shield of Judah. But at the last minute, it was changed to Operation Roaring Lion. So that's an interesting kind of connection there between the two. And of course, the Lord saying he's going to roar from Zion and thunder from Jerusalem. This is God speaking. It's not. He's making a declaration there, and I think we can see that. Yeah, the hand of God is in this strangely, and it can be difficult to reconcile with these things, but sometimes it is inevitable. In Psalm 46 it says, "He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth," and that's great, and he will. But the verse prior to that says, "Come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he has brought upon the earth." So it seems like a contradiction, but I think God is moving in the midst of the pain and the suffering, unfortunately, for the people.
No, absolutely. His name is also Adonai Se'avot, which means, we translate that into English as the Lord of Hosts, but actually means the Lord of Armies. And when you come against Israel, you come against his people and his land, and this is exactly what the regime has done. And Tim, share us your thoughts, because what was extraordinary is the timing of Operation Rising Lion. In effect, that this happened during the week of Purim, which is the whole book story of Esther. And not only that, but also the fact that President Trump agreed to attack the Iranian regime together with the Americans during Ramadan, the most holy month for Muslims, and no president in their right mind is advised to actually carry out attacks during this month to inflame Muslim public opinion around the world. But it seems that this was a timing in coinciding with Purim and deliverance of God's people. And we know, for example, that Supreme Leader, ever since he's been in power for 36 plus years, from 1989, has wanted to destroy Israel and the Jewish people. And of course, he died in his own gallows.
Yeah, well, those who read the book of Esther, we know that it actually takes place in Persia, in Iran. And the parallels are just incredible, because not only in Persia at that time, you had one of the most evil men, Haman, who was orchestrating the destruction of the entire Jewish people globally. Wherever they were, he'd orchestrated it and arranged an edict to be signed to destroy them, and that was coming to fruition. And we see in Iran now, we saw the Ayatollah almost with, again, adopting this fanatical hatred of Israel and the Jewish people, almost coming to fruition for annihilating them. You know, presumably, if things had gone the way they planned, they would have developed a nuclear weapon, which they would undoubtedly have used against Israel and against the West as well. You know, it's no coincidence they were saying death to Israel, death to America. They were planning to follow that through with the enrichment of uranium. And you mentioned about, you know, no US president actually did any action against Iran and the Muslims during Ramadan. Well, it works the other way around, because there doesn't seem to be much outrage when on the Yom Kippur War, you know, which was an attack on the Jewish nation on one of their holiest days of the year. And also October the 7th was Simchat Torah, another holy day of the Jewish year. So it doesn't seem, you know, there shouldn't be any moral outrage for what had happened on the days.
No, absolutely. And Joanne, share with us the situation in Israel right now and what Israel is facing, because sadly we've seen that 9 people have died in Beit Shemesh, just outside of Jerusalem, who were hit directly by an Iranian ballistic missile. We saw that last week that the Iranians targeted Arad, they even targeted Israel's nuclear sites, and now seeing that residential buildings in Tel Aviv have been hit. Praise God that the casualties are very low, but still Israelis live in fear. So what's the update?
Well, we've got a video on our YouTube channel of Richard van der Beek. Now he visits Beit Shemesh, and you can see the devastation there. He's bringing a report from that. Now, you know, thankfully the bomb shelter did its job, because it could have been so much worse, and we have to be thankful for these bomb shelters that ICEJ providing, other organisations are providing. But Israelis are living under this constant sound of that siren. And I heard that siren on October the 7th, and it sends a chill down the back of your spine, and that is their reality, day in, day out. And I can't imagine the mental pressure that they're under.
That's why we just need to keep them in our prayers and make them realise they're not
Yeah.
alone. So let's have a look now at David Parsons, who's the Vice President of ICEJ in Jerusalem. And this was his initial report after the start of Operation Roaring Lion to stop the Iranian regime from acquiring nuclear weapons and to bring about regime change in Iran.
It's the third day of Israel and the American war against Iran. And for the past 3 days here in Jerusalem, we've had rockets flying over our head towards Tel Aviv and other places. You could hear the interceptions, the loud booms. You saw a lot of the damage, but over the last 24 hours, here on the third day, Iran has begun deliberately targeting Jerusalem. It's very shocking for them to do this. They haven't done it before, but we just had a warhead land in the Hinnom Valley over here, only about 600 meters from the Temple Mount and the mosque on top of the Temple Mount. They targeted Israeli offices in East Jerusalem. Their press release by Iran quoted East Jerusalem. Of course, we had this tragedy in Beit Shemesh last night, where at least 9 are dead, some are still missing, many wounded. Tragic stories, entire families killed. We even had one lady, her husband died. It was her birthday, and today her son was supposed to celebrate his bar mitzvah, 13 years old, and yet instead they're burying their husband. Some really tragic stories. Here at the Christian Embassy, we need your help. We have been praying that this war would be over by Purim with a resounding, decisive victory for Israel over the evil regime in Tehran. Israeli authorities are saying the war may last, be prepared for it to last at least till March 12th. 12th. And even President Trump has said it may be 3 to 4 weeks of fighting. We don't know, but right now Israel needs your help. There's displaced families that we're going to be helping. There's our Holocaust survivors in Haifa. These are folks that have already lived through many wars, World War II, the Holocaust, a Ukraine war, and they don't need to suffer like this again, but we're taking care of them. We're going to be visiting some of the displaced families, doing what we can to help them. It's a crisis here in Israel. We need you to give to our Israel in Crisis Fund and enable us to do all we can to be the hands and feet of Jesus here in the land right now. We also need Christians praying for Israel. We need to pray for that decisive victory, that Israel doesn't, and the U.S., that they don't cut short this campaign to take down the regime in Iran. And we want you to stand in solidarity. Israel needs it right now. They're being blamed for starting this war. I tell you, it's the people of Iran right now who have been crying out for someone to come help them. President Trump said help is on the way, and we've already had 3 days of this fighting, and the people are already cheering out on the streets in Tehran for the death of Ayatollah Khamenei. So they want this war more than anyone. We need to help them. You need to stand in solidarity, whether it's in the papers, out on the streets of your country. Find some Iranians and bring Christians together and those who love Israel and hold a demonstration yourself. Send the message to your elected leaders, to your newspapers, that you're standing with Israel. Please help Israel in this hour of need. In the story of Purim, Mordecai tells his niece Esther that if you do not rise up now and take advantage of this situation, help and deliverance is going to come from someone else. But maybe for such a time as this, you have come to the kingdom, and you can do something today to help Israel through this war. And most of all, pray this will be a swift victory for the Jewish people over their enemies. God bless you from Jerusalem.
A great report there by David Parsons, and yes, we need to keep Israel very much in our prayers right now as she's under attack. And Tim, we're just saying before the video that Jerusalem now is coming under attack, that Israel faced far more threats last June during that 12-day military campaign against the regime's nuclear weapons programs they are now. However, the Iranian regime is using its drones and particularly its ballistic missiles to attack Jerusalem. And only last week, one of those ballistic missiles literally fell within 400 yards of the Dome of the Rock. Share with us your thoughts on how Jerusalem and the Old City is being a target for the Iranian regime.
That's true, Simon. The whole of Israel is being targeted. Rockets are even falling in Judea, the West Bank, what people call the West Bank, and Samaria. And, it's the rockets that are firing at the ballistics. They're even firing, the cluster munitions as well, which are incredibly difficult to shoot down. And they're indiscriminately targeting the civilian population. And so when the sirens go off, these munitions can fall anywhere and cause devastation in the old city, anywhere in Israel, down the south, in the Negev, now Eilat. It's just almost a carpet bombing, but everywhere is being attacked. And if you look at the alarms that go off, it's like the red patches all over Israel, the north, the south, and the central as well, and even central Jerusalem as well. And what I see miraculous is there's the injuries are so few compared to the number of rockets that are being fired over, and that is a miracle. Miracles are happening, that in heavily populated areas, built-up areas, a rocket will actually land in an open area in the middle of a town or a city. And I saw this week the miracle of a 91-year-old Holocaust survivor whose apartment was blown out, the window was blown out, his flat was overturned, and that's where he lived, and his daughter came, or I think one of his relatives came, and couldn't find him, and he was just sat in a street in his chair,
Wow.
outside his apartment with the window blown out. How did he get there? How was he protected? God has got his hand over over Israel. He neither slumbers nor sleeps.
Amen. And of course, what we're seeing is incredible miracles taking place. And the more as this war goes on, and the more we will learn about God's mighty hand of protection and talk about God's mighty hand of protection. What was extraordinary about this conflict is that the Israelis are sending their love to the true people of Iran, the true Persians, and also the Persian people themselves that want to be rid of this evil totalitarian regime, want their freedom, are standing in solidarity with Israel as well. So share with us your thoughts about how Israel and the Iranian regime are at war, but the Israeli people and the people of Iran want to be free.
Yeah, well, they do, don't they? And Israelis don't have any issues with the surrounding nations. They just want to live in peace in their own nation, in their own ancestral homeland. And I think that the Persians, the Iranians, want the same thing, don't they? They want the same things. They want to have autonomy in their own land, in their own ancestral homeland. And I think that after years of dispersion and persecution, coming back to Israel for the Jewish people, they've got that joy of returning home. And I think they can feel for the people of Iran because they know what it's like, I suppose, to have your land hijacked, and as it is now in Iran, it's been decimated by this cruel, absolutely brutal regime that has totally oppressed the people for decades, suppressed all the rights, particularly women and children and minorities, and just wiped out their entire culture, even making them speak a different language and everything. So I think, the Jewish people, the Israelis, they are praying that this regime will fall. We are praying that this regime will fall and that the Persian people get their land back, and that the Christians there can rise up and the gospel can, that's what we're praying anyway, that then the gospel will spread.
Amen. Of course, once it gets a hold of Iran, it will spread right across the Middle East. So yes, very much need to keep the Iranian people in our prayers right now. But also let's have a look at this excellent report put together in Jerusalem by ICEJ. And this is an interview with ordinary people living in Jerusalem with their thoughts on the war and what they think in particular of their reaction to the Iranian people who want their freedom as much as Israel does. Take a look.
Richard van der Beek, Vice President of Operations at the International Christian Embassy. I'm here in Hawel Mall, just outside of Jerusalem in Mevaseret, and I've just come to explore how it is to be in the mall here, where people are still going around their business. How is it to live now in a war situation with the rockets and the bombs? How do you feel?
I'm very scared, actually. I have two little sisters. This is difficult to explain your little sister what's going on. Like, there's rocket over my head. Very scared, and me as a teenager, I don't know what to do. What can I do? Like...
קשה, כל רגע אזעקה, רצים לממ"ד, אבל ממשיכים רגיל לעבוד, ומצב קשה.
יש לך פחד או אין פחד?
יש פחד, כי יש מלא טילים שנפלו ופגעו באנשים, היה פיגוע שממש הרס ממש בית, ומשפחה זה הרס. הרבה ילדים, 4 ילדים מתו, נהרגו. זה מפחיד, זה מצב מפחיד מאוד.
We're pretty accustomed to everything at this point. This isn't our first go around, especially not with Iran. I'm sure that it's stressful for many, especially for children. I think we've just got kind of gotten used to it. I think it's weird to say, right? I have some friends who live outside of Israel, and for them it's super weird that I say that. That for me it's like normal, that there's missiles and there's alarms and shelters and whatnot. But that's just the reality here, at least right now.
It's a little strange. We don't really feel the real danger. We feel that something big is going on and we're part of it.
And have you had a few words for the Iranian people? What do you think about? Do you have any hatred towards the Iranian people?
I think the Iranians also want this war. Khamenei is very
bad and
yes. And I think they also want it. And we did it not to ourselves, to them, to save them, to free them, the Iranian star.
From the regime.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I really pray for Israel and Iran to finish this war in the best way and peace.
גם להם זה מפחיד, ואנחנו רוצים רק שיהיו חופשיים ושלא יהיה להם את השלטון הזה.
I don't hate the Iranian people. I understand many of them don't particularly like the regime that they are under. And I hope that they're able to live freely and choose their own life like, you know, a lot of people in first world democratic countries, that they get opportunities. I would say I hope that they stay strong throughout and that their, I guess, resistance or whatever you might call it, holds strong and that they don't give up on themselves. I wish for them to live in peace just as I wish for everyone here to live in peace and stay strong throughout.
So would you have any word for the Christians who are praying for Iran and for Israel?
Continue with your praise, very hazek.
Yeah, to strengthen.
Yes, us and all our country.
First and foremost, thank you. Yeah, I just hope that we all can coexist and live peacefully. Thank you for trying to understand. I appreciate it. I think that's a great thing to pray for health and safety and for everyone to be able to coexist peacefully.
I really believe in my army, and my country. I think if we start something, we're gonna finish it in the best way. And I really believe this is gonna stop.
So good to actually hear Israeli voices and what you see something about Israel, despite the fact that Israel's at war and they're being hit by these Iranian ballistic missiles and drones, and the Iranian regime for the last 46 years has waged a terror war against Israel. The Israeli people don't have a hatred in their hearts towards Iran or the Iranian people. So let's pray for Israel, but also let's pray for the people of Iran, the Persian people, that they would be free. Tim, also what's so interesting about this war in particular is that we're seeing now, aren't we, a real division between the sheep and the goat nations. And what is tragic for us is that the US and Israel are carrying out this war to save the world from a nuclear holocaust and to rid the world of this evil, demonic, totalitarian regime that is the Islamic Republic of Iran, which are the #1 sponsor of international terrorism around the world. Yet our own government has decided to align themselves with Spain and also France in saying that this war is against international law, doing everything at the start of the war to prevent British bases being used to target the Iranian regimes. And of course, now we're seeing that we're on the wrong side because the enemies of Israel are also our enemies. So as a nation, we've got to make a choice, don't we?
It's inconceivable to myself and probably to many people to come to the conclusion that we are not at war, because it's clear that we are at war. What is the definition of war? We've had drones and rockets fired at sovereign British territories with the expectation, no regard for the lives of British citizens on those territories. We've got Iranian regime operatives going around the UK, as we've heard today, in total freedom, claiming responsibilities for attacks on Jewish communities, sponsoring attacks on the Jewish communities in our nation. And there is a polarization even within our nation of many say we are now at war. Some people, and our government says we're not at war. It's just inconceivable because, to all intents and purposes, we are at war. And many have likened the Iranian regime, the terrorists running around our nation. It's almost like going back to 1930s Germany, Kristallnacht Act that's going on. And ICEJ have actually had to set up, and Joanne will maybe give some more information on this, we've set up safe houses for Jewish people and for rabbis who've had death threats against them. So we've set up safe houses like in the Netherlands and Germany in World War II.
In this country?
In this country.
That is shocking. That is really shocking. And Joanne, give us your thoughts on how our Prime Minister Keir Starmer has responded to this crisis, repeatedly saying he believes it's against international law because there's no imminent threat, despite the fact that the Iranians have proved that they've targeted Diego Garcia 2,500 miles away, which means that we are now in range of Iran's ballistic missiles. So it is an intimate threat. So it proves that this is not against international law. But the other thing he said, which is outrageous, is he believes that you can negotiate with the devil. You can negotiate with evil, and that the Iranians will say, very nice to meet you, Mr. Starmer. Let's sit down and negotiate, and you can end your nuclear weapons program through negotiations. Surely, if that was possible, this would have been done years ago, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. That they've been trying these negotiations and sanctions and all kinds of things for years, and yet for 40 plus years we have, like you say, we have been at war in one sense, and the negotiations are not working. You cannot negotiate with terrorists. You know, this is a brutal regime that's sworn enemy is Israel and the West, and that they have their goal, which is to wipe out Israel and destroy Western civilization and just cover the world with their own Islamic caliphate, with their own Islamic, this awful regime that is in Iran. And so that's their goal, and they are not going to move from that. So essentially, the only way to stop them is to like physically stop them. You know, David Parsons has written a great article called "The Self-Evident Truths of This War." It's on our website, and I think Keir Starmer needs to read it.
Very good. So anyone watching has access to the Prime Minister. Please send him the article by David Parsons. But let's have a look now at the response by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, talking about the war that is Operation Roaring Lion to stop the Iranian regime's nuclear weapons program, but also to bring about regime change in Iran.
Welcome to the Foreign Press. First of all, I just want to say I'm alive, and you're all witnesses. And now that I dispatched this piece of fake news, I want to give you an update on Operation Roaring Lion. Under President Trump's visionary leadership, America and Israel are acting together in Iran with great determination and unprecedented strength. Operation Rising Lion is designed to remove the existential threats posed by the Ayatollah regime, the regime that has waged war against America and Israel and the people of Iran for 47 years. It chants death to America, death to Israel, and it delivers death to its own people. Our goals are three. One, removing the nuclear threat. Second, removing the ballistic missile threat, and removing both of these threats before they're buried deep underground and become immune from aerial attack. And third, this means creating the conditions for the Iranian people to grasp their freedom, to control their destiny. Today, the Ayatollah regime is not only attacking America, not only attacking Israel, not only attacking the Iranian people, it is attacking the entire Middle East and beyond. They've attacked civilians and American assets in Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, and they've even attacked through their proxies Cyprus and Europe. We've warned for decades that their ballistic missile program would be used to attack these targets far and wide, and if they're not stopped, that's just the beginning. The death cult in Iran is trying to blackmail the world by closing a key international maritime route, the Straits of Hormuz. It won't work. Israel is helping in its own way, and intel and other means, the American effort to open the Straits of Hormuz, rather. But I want to ask you to imagine how the Ayatollah regime would be able to blackmail the entire world if they had ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads. Just imagine what they would do. Look at what they're doing now and imagine what they would do if they had ballistic missiles, international range ballistic missiles, and nuclear-tipped warheads. Just imagine what a great threat that would be. So today, Israel and the United States are protecting America, Israel, the entire Middle East, but I venture to say the entire world. Despite the fake news that is unfortunately being spread since the start of the war 20 days ago, we are winning and Iran is being decimated. Iran's missile and drone arsenal is being massively degraded and will be destroyed. Hundreds of their launchers have been destroyed, their stockpiles of missiles are being hit hard, and so are the industries that produce them. That's important. In Rising Lion, we destroyed missiles and we destroyed a lot of the nuclear infrastructure. But what we're destroying now are the factories that produce the components to make these missiles and to make the nuclear weapons that they're trying to produce. We're wiping out their industrial base in a way that we didn't do before. Iran's air defenses have been rendered useless. Their navy is lying at the bottom of the sea. Today we hit the other part of their navy in the Caspian Sea. Their air force is nearly destroyed. Iran's command and control structure is in utter chaos. And I can tell you that there's still more work to do, and we're going to do it. And I want to close these opening remarks with one other fake news, and that is that Israel somehow dragged the U.S. into a conflict with Iran. Does anyone really think that someone can tell President Trump what to do? Come on. President Trump always makes his decisions on what he thinks is good for America, and may I add, I think what is also good for future generations. In this case, those interests are absolutely clear, and so is the clarity of our achievements. Together in close coordination with President Trump, close coordination between America and Israel, our militaries, our intelligence services, we're achieving goals in lightning speed.
So that was the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu talking about Operation Roaring Lion, and that is courtesy of our friends at the government press office in Israel. But also we know that we're not facing a war against flesh and blood, but Israel is at war against the Prince of Persia. That's why your prayers are vital for the security and the peace not only of Israel but also for the Middle East. Now we're on to what is an incredible Jewish festival, Joanne, called Passover, but in Hebrew, Pesach. This starts on Wednesday the 1st of April. It lasts all the way to the evening of Thursday the 9th of April. Tell us why this Jewish festival is so biblically important and significant for Christians today.
I love Passover. You know, I remember the first one I did, I was blown away, and there was so much in it that I'd just never realised before. And I think every time I do one, I'm reminded of something that I'd forgotten, or I learned something new. There is so much in there. And yes, it's the Jews' story, and we cannot take that away from them. We never should. We can't replace anything about it. It is their history. It is their identity, and they've celebrated it for centuries, and they continue to celebrate it every year, and they rejoice in what God did. But for us, the retelling of the Exodus story, it's more than just a demonstration of God delivering his people. It's actually part of the full salvation story that God has woven through the Old Testament. And then we get to Jesus and him being the ultimate Passover lamb. And as you go through the Passover elements, all of these little things are revealed, bits of the Exodus story and how they relate to the rest of the Bible and how it relates to our salvation. There's so much depth in there. I mean, I can't go into it now, but other than to just say that it is, in my view, just absolutely tragic that the church has separated Easter from Passover, because I think we're just missing so much rich teaching by not doing it.
And it's so true. And on those lines, our Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach, when he was on earth during his earthly ministry, celebrated the Passover. So if Jesus did it with his disciples, known as the Last Supper, then this is surely something that we should then be interested in, because Jesus and the disciples would have celebrated and had a Seder meal.
Absolutely. Jesus was he is the Jewish Messiah, and as a Jew he celebrated the Passover at Passover with his Jewish friends, who are Jewish disciples. And my first Passover Seder was only a couple of years ago with the Jewish community, and it was amazing to be part of that process. To see the Jewish people identify themselves fully with the children of Israel coming out of Egypt. They don't see it as history, they see it as a remembrance that it is actually they were coming out of Egypt at the time. For Christians, what Jesus has done for us as the Passover lamb, he identified himself as the Passover lamb, which was actually declared by the Levitical priesthood, by John the Baptist. He actually declared Jesus as the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. So we fully identify with Jesus as our Passover lamb, but within the continuity of the Jewish tradition of Passover, of death passing over us as well.
And yeah, absolutely. And Joanne, what is the ICEJ UK doing to mark Passover, or in Hebrew Pesach, and how can our viewers get involved?
Well, if people want to, I guess if people want to know more about it, then please get in touch with us, because we can help you to put on a Passover meal, or we can give you some instructions in that. But in Israel at the moment, of course, it's difficult. It is difficult for people to celebrate, but we still have our Passover appeal that we do every year, because we want to be able to provide for impoverished families that maybe can't afford to get all the right elements. So our team in Israel are still driving around the country delivering food parcels, making sure that people who need it can celebrate properly. So if people want to give to that appeal, it is still going.
Amazing. So let's have a look at this in action, where the Ministry of ICEJ in Jerusalem are helping not only Holocaust survivors, but also the poor and needy by giving them so much needed food parcels during the Jewish festival of Passover. Take a look.
Israel is in its last few days of preparation before Pesach, a wonderful holiday where it commemorates the exodus out of Egypt and coming to freedom from slavery. Unlike last year, this year families can get together again around the Pesach table. But what about those people that are sitting alone at home, that don't have family? What about those Holocaust survivors who can't go anywhere? That's why we have joined a wonderful initiative where 5 top chefs of Israel are working hard around the clock to prepare meals with many other wonderful cooks, many volunteers. These meals will be brought to the doorstep of thousands of Holocaust survivors. All together, we want to make sure that they know, even though maybe they sit alone at home, that we care and that we love them and that we haven't forgotten them.
And we'll certainly be praying for the Israeli people and the Jewish people, particularly Israel, marking Passover this year, knowing they're at war, knowing it's very, very difficult to get out of their houses and to meet with families. And sadly, because there are no flights flying into Israel, many people will not be connected to their families. So this is an important time. Tim, what I love about the Ministry of ICEJ UK is the generous giving to various projects. And of course, one of the great projects that's so needed right now is the whole need for bomb shelters to protect the Israelis. And if it wasn't for those bomb shelters in their homes and their houses, we're talking about mass casualties. And the fact that the casualties have been limited has been by the bomb shelters. Share with us the importance of these bomb shelters and how they save lives in Israel.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the bomb shelters do save lives, and we can see it for the low injuries that are taking place and deaths in Israel, all over Israel. I was honoured to be part of a dedication like yourself of a bomb shelter in the north of Israel a couple of years ago, but it was actually, people forget that there are Muslims, there are Druze, there are Arab Israelis, not just Jews in Israel, and this bomb shelter was placed right next to a mosque. Because in the northern border, people have only got seconds if they're in the streets to actually get into a bomb shelter. And ICEJ has actually donated around about 250 bomb shelters all over Israel for all the communities, irrespective whether they're Jews, Muslims, Druze as well, all over Israel. So, and that's so vitally important because they do save lives. When there's seconds to get into a bomb shelter, when a siren goes, and let's say that even the young people are next to a football field and there's a bomb shelter there, they've got seconds to get in from Hezbollah, from northern Israel, from the bombs that are landing in northern Israel, and rockets and artillery fire.
Absolutely, which is so important because they really, really do save lives. So let's have a look now at one particular project to save lives in Israel through these wonderful life-saving bomb shelters.
Today we're at the Sodot Negev Resilience Center, a center that provides trauma care for residents of the South, a need that has increased tenfold since the 7th of October. We're here to dedicate 2 large shelters that are going to allow this resilience center to operate, provide healing and peace of mind to the residents of the region.
What helps keep us together is people like yourselves who are constantly helping us, and we know that you're thinking about us all the time, and really that is what helps us keep going. So the first thing is really a huge thank you.
It's been said it was such an honor, and it is such an honor. I think it's in our heart, just you're not alone. You have many friends. A few of us are sitting here, but there's many friends around the world.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'kvoa mezuzah.
As the CEO of Life Shield, first and foremost, nothing could be done without our partnership. And our partnership with the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
What shocked me really today was to hear that when in particular children are coming to a facility here in this region, the very first question that they often hear is, where is the bomb shelter? Where is the safe place where we can run into? This community center didn't have a safe place, so the Christian Embassy reacted immediately. We built a bomb shelter that you see right here. This was made possible by Christians from around the world. This region still remains in a critical situation and needs our help. So thank you so much for standing with us, for continuing to help us to make this place a safer place and to give them a hope and a future. God bless you, and thank you so much for your support.
So it's an amazing project to be involved in, knowing that you are literally helping Israelis and also Israeli Arabs stay safe from Iranian rockets and missiles. Such an amazing project through Operation Life Shields. And for our viewers watching, Joanne, and I know that I've been approached as well saying, how can we help Israel's security? This is an amazing project that our viewers can get involved in, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And I would really encourage people to just get on the website and have a look at everything. Do you know what? ICEJ is doing so much more than we talk about in these programs. Please just visit the website and find out everything that's going on, or give me a call and I can talk to you. And
you're very friendly. You don't have to worry. And Tim, just share with us the importance of our viewers watching this program today to literally show that love and support of Israel, particularly this time where Israel's at war and the Israelis are hunkering down in their bunkers while these rockets and missiles fly over them. This is the time now, isn't it, to make a difference and to stand with Israel, and they can do that in a practical way by supporting the ministry that is ICEJ UK.
Absolutely. Our donations do make a massive difference to saving lives. We had the bomb shelters. They do cost money. I think one standard bomb shelter costs about £20,000, £25,000, and they save lives of young and old as well throughout Israel. But also donations actually save lives here in the UK. Just this week, ICEJ UK, from the generous giving of the UK viewers, the UK supporters, we have actually donated £5,000 to the ambulance fund in the UK, which is absolutely amazing. And then the response from, if I can read the response from the Jewish community, just from receiving these donations. This 5,000 is the minimum. That's not just those. There's also those who have given personally on top of that, for which we're incredibly grateful for. The donation has just been received. Totally amazing support from ICEJ. I'm so pleased that the remarkable Christian support is being highlighted in this way. With the hatred so loud, It is time the love and support is appropriately highlighted for the communities to see. I am beyond grateful.
Amazing, amazing. And Joanne, for our viewers watching, share with us everything that ICEJ UK has to offer and how that our viewers can be part of this journey by being that hand of blessing to Israel and the Jewish people, particularly this critical time, both home in the UK and also in Israel at war.
Yeah, so we've talked about quite a lot today, and I really would encourage people to get on our mailing list. I really would. We have a free magazine as well, The Word from Jerusalem. So I would encourage people to get hold of that, because that keeps you really well up to date, and there's lots of commentaries and biblical teaching in that as well. Follow us on social media. That's really important, because you know we're posting stuff on there. If you follow us on social media, because then you can like and share, especially our YouTube channel where all these programs are repeated, and just help us to get the message out by doing it that way. And like I said at the beginning, come to our conferences.
Absolutely. And Tim, obviously we have to make a noteworthy point of what Jacob is doing in terms of the social media and stuff as well. So we have loads of videos that have been uploaded to ICEJ UK's YouTube channel, which are making a difference in terms of social media, also to engage with a younger audience as well. Share with us that any age or any people, there's always something to do regarding this ministry. So if people have time on their hands and are elderly, they can be part of the Rosh Kodesh movement to pray, attend the conferences, and of course then engage with social media and engage with this fight for Israel in that world that is social media.
Yeah, the fight and our warfare is prayer, it's practical, and it's for all ages to be involved in. And I say, look on social media. I encourage young people, look on social media, get informed. Look at ICEJ UK, ICEJ. There is so much information online for young and old how to get involved with ICEJ and support Israel.
Amazing. So Tim and Joanne, thank you so much for being this month's guest on Jerusalem Dispatch ICEJ UK. You've both done a great job, and thank you, and particularly the hard work and dedication that you do, Joanne, to keep this ministry at the forefront of defending Israel and the Jewish people. And I just want to thank you for watching this program home. This is a wonderful ministry to get involved in and support, the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem UK, where you can literally be the hands and feet of Israel by helping them and blessing them. So if you get behind this ministry by praying for Israel and the Jewish people, and also sign up so that you know what's happening, and if there's a conference near you, attend it, because these are really nice people and they're making a real difference by standing for the God of Israel and standing for the nation of Israel at this difficult time. So thank you for watching Jerusalem Dispatch ICEJ UK, and happy Passover.
Catch the wind, he's carrying